Hi everyone, my name is Moonshine and I'm the host of today's AMA with Truther. And Truther by RezolvePay is basically building a seamless payment ecosystem that connects stablecoins with real world transactions through secure self custody technology. And in today's AMA, we will be able to cover what is Trota about, Trota Wallet, the ecosystem, community benefits, and how each and every one of us can get started with the utilities within the ecosystem. And we have Rocelo Lopes here with us. So to start with, could you kindly introduce yourself and the team behind your project?
Hi everyone. Thanks for the invite. I've been working on crypto space since 2013, and I started with mining. Then I was one of an angel investor for a few projects in the past. On 2021, I decided to get involved with more in the payment system, and then also to make users to be able to use in an everyday concept to use crypto. So we did a partnership with Tether and to develop a wallet that could be connected with the traditional financial system. And as I am from Brazil, the first country that I thought about, especially because it has a brilliant financial system, is one of the most advanced in the world. And then was right after the Brazilian central bank created something called PIX, which is a instant payment system. All the banks has to be connected on it, and was made by the government with the Brazilian central bank. So I saw that it was a good opportunity to connect USDT straight, the largest stable coin in the world, to be connected straight with the financial system. So then we did that. And then, of course, the first user to use that solution was Bitfinex, one of the oldest exchange in the world. So people even that using Bitfinex, they are able to do payments in Brazil, or Brazilians are able to go to the exchange and then be able to use it. But we didn't stop just there. We decided to also to make this technology available to other wallets and to be available to other platforms. And few platforms that use 2 or 3 wallets also use us, but the wallets was too complicated, and most of the wallets that we offer the service, they were not ready to take our technology. They were way far behind what needs to be done. And to be very honest, all the wallets that I saw in the market, most of them are too confused, and was not to the user just starting to deal with cryptocurrency. So then we decided to do a proper wallet. So then we decided to say, you know what, we need to do a wallet that for 90% of the users, where 10% of the users, they want something else. So let's cover the entire market, the 90%, the entire market that actually need to be able to use. And then we decided to do our own wallet. That's why we did Truther wallet with a self-custodial wallet. So we stick with the principles to say your keys, your coins, and at the same time connected to the financial system. Now we are already preparing. Now Brazil is working phenomenally, so anyone can download Truther, can come to Brazil, and then can do payments straight and anywhere in Brazil. More than 36 million merchants, or can just receive from any Brazilian straight to USDT. Everything works instant transaction and is pure connected to the financial system. Now we are doing something else to cover the entire world. Last year we've been acquired by RezolvePay, which is a AI company based in London. And the reason that they acquired us is to use the same technology now to not just to Brazil, but to other countries that has instant payment system. So the idea now is to make Truther in the same way that it used to work in Brazil to work in other countries. But today is already working, and the latest one we are in the process to connect also with a Visa card. So then any user would be able to use a card. And what is different from this one to other cards that is in the market? There's a bunch of cards in the market that you say, oh, I can load this card and then I can use it. So it's not something new that you guys are doing. Well, what we are doing that is new with the card is most of the cards you have to load. I'll say probably all the cards in the market you need to load. This one's going to be the first one that actually the user don't need to load the card. So all you need to do is pre-approve that specifically amount. So basically, we just make it the same way for the user. So user now say, okay, I want to send, let's say, for example, $15. I want to send $15 through what? You want to send through blockchain, you want to send through financial system, or you want to send it through Visa. So this is the way we put it together. So it works exactly the same way. The difference now that the user wants to use Visa, don't have to load the card. The money always going to be on the user's control. So this is a little bit what we're doing. This is how we can get things done.
Thank you very much for that very solid introduction about, where you guys are from, how you guys started the project, and how you guys are able to build the whole ecosystem, right? So the first question I have is, I really can see how Twitter seems to be deliberately separating the user-facing wallet from the B2B checkout and institutional API. But how do you see these three products reinforcing each other as a scale rather than becoming just three separate businesses competing for resources and attention?
Well, the way we put it is like, there is something that is not in your question, but I will put it out there, which is like a lot of business, they are using APIs, and then you can even see a bunch of even companies saying, okay, we need an API to connect and then to do payments. That is a way. But the way we try to put it to even, let's say, on the business side, I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say, for example, I'm selling coconut. Someone from overseas wants to selling a product to Brazilians. And I'll tell you one thing that is really is happening more and more. For example, someone buying coffee from Brazil, which is a different way. So Brazil, it's well known also for coffee and sugarcane and a lot of products. But let's just realize one thing. So let's say someone is needed to send a payment to Brazil or getting paid by Brazilians using an API that is so transparent. And then the most important part, the majority of the APIs all over the world, they do transactions and then they hold the money, and then let's say every day or every week or once a month, they send the payment. The way we do it through the API, like I was explaining, let's say a checkout from a store in London. Now a Brazilian goes there and say, I want to pay. Oh, great. Now the Brazilian can pay using Pix, which is our payment system. On the moment that do the payment, within 8 seconds, the merchant that is based in England will receive USDT straight away. And it is so transparent the way it's working. So for the user, it's just like they are doing a normal payment. And everything's on the blockchain, everything happened on the background. No one is seeing that happening. But at the end of the day, the merchant in London will receive in USDT straight away in their wallet. And then, of course, later on, we're going to enable it to other stable coins that Resolve is working a different stable coins with a different stable coin. So the idea is to make it very simple through the API. On the other way around, let's say a company, that even more, that same company that is selling product, maybe they need to pay providers in Brazil, maybe they need to pay developers in Brazil, maybe they have to send money to Brazil. Now, because they have USDT, they do everything through an API, and then they send USDT, and this is really important too. They send USDT to us, and then instantly convert to reais. So even that company, they don't have to host or hold an account with us. All they need is a contract to use the API. That is also a very good way to say, if it's a very small business, they don't need to open an account and then keep balance with us. Everything works on chain. Everything works in real time. So basically, the way we put it using our API is the same way you sending money. It is the same way you sending USDT, and then will be converted to money. So at the end of the day, sending USDT and arriving reais, for example, on someone's bank account here in Brazil, is going to be the same way someone sending US dollars to another person receiving US dollars. So we just make it so easy on the API. That is to cover the business side. But when it comes to, let's say, to the end consumer, Like the users say, okay, you know what, I want to do payments. I want to send money here. I want to send money to Brazil. Or like I said, we are integrating other countries. Very soon it's going to be other countries available. But the bottom line is to put in a way to the user use as they are using a bank. So we try to copy the wallet to the user to say, yeah, it's almost like a bank. Like we don't even call USDT, we say digital dollar. We don't call Tether gold, we say digital gold. Well, Bitcoin, we could not change much, but we leave it like that. So we are building in a way, even on the API, we don't call USDT anymore. We just call digital dollar to make it so simple and then so easy to whoever wants to do a connection with us, it's going to be easy. Whoever wants to use us as a wallet also is going to be very, very easy. So the whole idea behind is like, we need to make an API simple and easy, and we need to make an application simple and easy. So then the user is not going to have a hard time to use.
Yeah, that's definitely a very important thing that I always, express to certain project owners in terms of the UI and the UX, right? Because despite the kind of great utilities your app might have, your projects might have, if users are not able to adopt easily to this utilities, then it becomes kind of useless, right? Because you end up creating numerous tutorials just to put them through a lot of questions because of misunderstanding. So seeing that you guys already had this in mind as a team while building your product is something I really, really appreciate, right? So
Yeah, you
I
just
think,
said something. You just said something that it's quite nice to talk about it. Like to say, the wallets. If you look the wallets in the market, 20, 12, I mean 20, 50 different blockchains to the user, and then the user go, yeah, I want to use USDT, and then you receive USDT in what blockchain? How many people send USDT on Ethereum and supposed to be in Polygon? And because the user does not know what is those blockchains, and in a different, like especially USDT that runs in 19 blockchains at the moment. Now imagine how complicated is that. So they're like, no, we need something very simple. And on top of that is still the gas thing. So imagine, I just received USDT. Let's say you are a developer working in Argentina, and then you just receive USDT from a company from Spain. Now you need gas to send the money out. So it's not easy to the user. The way we did on Truther, you're still in control of the private key, but you don't need gas. Oh, and someone wants to send USDT on Tron network to you? Yeah, great. You have an address in Tron. You're going to do the automatic swap, and then done. You receive USDT on the main blockchain, which is Polygon. So the way we put it is like the actual wallets in the market, I understand what they're trying to do. The wallets, normally the wallets, they will say, listen, we need to cover as much as possible so then we can at least make some money somehow. Yeah, I understand that point. But the point we picked here was like, okay, let's take a 90% of the market that all they need is to buy Bitcoin and hold the stable coin. That's it. So we analyze the market, and then we know that's what the market is looking for. Yeah, but there is another 10% of the population that they need to deal with Ethereum, they need to deal with Solana, they need to do that one. All right, so that 10%, the other wallets can do. These 90%, we are more interested on those 90% than the 10%. So, and the key thing is make it a wallet simple and easy to use with a very good interface.
that's really, really good. Thank you so much for still putting us through that. So my next question is, the website mentions expanding across multiple countries through local payment integrations, right? So what determines the
Correct.
next market you enter? What determines the next market you enter? Is it stablecoin demand, payment real maturity, regulatory clarity? Which of these variables are you guys looking at before you enter these different countries?
Well, very good question. The first thing that we look at is, does the country has an instant payment system? So, for example, like a lot of people are like, oh, the US and the US is this, America is that, but the payment system in America, instant payment system, it's very, very old. So even today, they take like 2-3 days to send money inside the US. So yeah, it's a very like high-tech country, let's put it this way. But when it comes to the financial system, they are far behind many other countries. So that is the first thing that we look. And then let's look at other countries, such as, for example, Russia. Russia has a phenomenal payment system, but unfortunately, because of the sanctions, we cannot go there. Now we have next was Argentina. They just they are doing very good development on their financial system. It's instant, kind of, but it's at least an instant payment system. Then we have Colombia. Then we have Mexico. Now we have Fast Pay in England. So what we look is, what is the financial system in the country? That's the number one. Then if the country does not have an instant payment system, then we don't, it's out of our list or is an end of our list. Then the other thing, it is regulation. This is really, really important because let's say, for example, could we operate in Europe right now? Might be, we might can operate, but there is a problem in Europe now because USDT has to be, USDT is not in Europe because the way they ask things for Tether is very, very complicated. So we are checking how can we operate because we only use USDT. Then can we do in England? Yes, definitely. So we're looking to integrate that in England. So first, number one, like I said, it is a payment system. Number two, regulation. And then, of course, and then the number three is, it is the country already prepared to this technology. Because imagine us going to, I'm going to give an example, Africa. It's a great place for us to go. But the majority of the countries, they are not ready. They do not have the liquidity. For example, Angola will be amazing to go there, as a lot of Angolans, they come to Brazil to buy stuff in Brazil because we speak Portuguese. And then for them to download Truta is amazing, so they can come to Brazil and then they spend money in Brazil. Yes, but how they were going to get USDT if there is no liquidity in the country? So those kind of liquidity is the third one. So if I can say the top three, one, it is the payment system in the country. Number two, regulation. Number three, actually the liquidity in the country. So these are the top three things that we look before we expanding, before we go into other countries.
I think those are very, very important, especially, the regulation, because, regulatory policies differs across different jurisdiction. So you definitely don't want to set up the project in a place that, affects what you guys have been building so far. And this requires a lot of research from the team itself. So thank you so much for answering that question. The next question I wanted to ask is about the real self-custody that was being emphasized. But after emphasizing the real self-custody, I also see that you guys provide automatic conversion into local currency and access to payment networks through partners. So how do you maintain a genuinely non-custodial experience while still giving users the convenience they normally associate with custodial fintech products?
Well, you make a point that is it's good to chat a little bit. We see a lot of people or companies moving to custodial service, exchange custodial service, financial companies that are offering a cryptocurrency financial, it's a self-custodial. Because if you just face it, it's too complicated. The self-custodial thing, it is way too complicated. Why? People are, like I said, 90% of people that is using cryptocurrencies or could be using cryptocurrencies, they have no idea how to save the keys or the 12 words or 24 words. And then later, like last week, we had the problem with the hard wallet. So all those things scare people, especially imagine someone downloads an application to say, all right, now you have to write down all the 12 words or 24 words. And then some of the users say like, damn, I barely can remember my 6-digit PIN code. And then now someone is telling me that I need to hold the 12, 24 words. Too complicated to them. So that's why even companies like such as Ledger, they have products that they can do save to the user the 12 words or the private key. So it's really, really complicated. So the way we always thought about it was like, all right, we need to give the user the full control of it. It's complicated, we know. So we try to do in such a way that the user is going to be always in control. Of course, we are Resolve acquired last year. This year, Resolve acquired a company called MetaKeep. With MetaKeep, they have a sort of a self-custodial wallet too, where the user signed the transaction with using his email. So that could be a possibility that we are testing right now, because even because Resolve bought the company, that might might solve the problem. But yes, again, I see the way that companies, they are more going to the custodial service. So for the user, listen, I know the majority of the human being, they are not ready for the 12 words or 24 words or those kind of things. I know that. And some of you say, like, I trust in my bank. So, okay, great. So if you trust, if you're fine with that, if you're happy with that, so then do it. But try to learn how to be your own bank. Because let's say tomorrow, something happened with that bank, something happened with that company, and you have your private key safe with them. So I think the best way to go it is let the user start to use crypto on banks or exchange that have the custodial service. And slowly, I think new wallets will come in a better technology saying, okay, we know there is a problem in 12 words, we are solving. So I think in a few years' time, I say probably the ratio is going to be 50-50. 50% will be using self-custodial, real self-custodial service, and 50% will say, no, I'm going to leave there, or I'm going to have a combination. For the day use, I'm going to live in a bank or a custodial wallet. As my voucher, I want to have, let's say, not just a cold storage, but I'll have also my other wallet that is a self-custodial. I think we have space for both of them, but hopefully we're gonna have a technology in the future where the user will be in full control of it. But at the moment, let's say for the more users to be using, believe you or not, but I'm rather to tell the user, if you do not trust yourself to do the custodial service for your wallet, go to Zappo Bank, go to Tower Bank, go to those guys that they already being a bank, but also they are very crypto friendly. So if you're not trust enough, I mean, if you don't trust yourself, find someone that is good, but learn how to be your own bank, let's say.
Thank you so much for answering that question and being really comprehensive about how you guys intend to extend across that. So, a question I wanted to ask in regards to a bit more about partnerships, right? So I see that your Visa compatible card is issued through an authorized partner rather than directly from Truther, correct?
Correct.
So as you scale, how do you prevent dependence on third-party infrastructure from becoming a bottleneck to the user experience, or limiting how much Truther has over limiting how much control Truther has over its product's roadmap?
Well, that's a very good question. I think that was when we ask that question ourselves all the time. We don't like to depend much on a third party or some partnerships. For example, like the way we did it for the user can receive USDT on Tron, and then we automatically do the swap, and then we convert to USDT on Polygon, because Polygon is the main blockchain for the wallet. For that service, we use Bitfinex. What happened if Bitfinex have an issue? What happened if Bitfinex, for some reason, is doing maintenance, change, and then the service is not available anymore? Yeah, we are working on a solution to not depend that much on Bitfinex anymore, and only depend just a little bit. But at least if the user say, you know what, I know Bitfinex is not operating at the moment, but I still have control of the private key on Tron. I still have the control of the private key on Ethereum. So we are trying to combine those things. So the same thing for even for Visa or any other partner that we are using, especially like Visa. Let's say something happened, or maybe could be a network problem, can be any other problem. So that was one of the reasons that we say why it's so important to do a self-custodial wallet. So the user can only blame us, and he's right to blame us. Say, guys, listen, the card is not working. He has to blame us. So, okay, we have an explanation that we can say is like, yeah, sorry for that, but yeah, Visa not working, or sorry for that, Bitfinex is doing a maintenance, sorry for that, that service is not available, or Pix is not available at the moment, or the payment system in Mexico is not working at the moment, but we are not controlling your money. You still have the control of your money. So if you're not happy with the service, all you can do, transfer to another wallet, or even import the private key in another wallet, and you're more than free to use it. And there is no problem. We have no problem with that. So the main reason that we always were thinking about it, we need to make a way to the user, do not depend on us as we are depending on third party, on other services that we are using. So the whole idea, it is, we know when you depend on the third party for partnership, that's not in my hand to control. So, and then everybody has problems at some point, but we cannot punish the user for that. So the bottom line, the crypto belongs to the user, that the user cannot be affected by saying, hey, I'm sorry, you load your card and something happened with Visa, and then you have $5,000 loading your card, and until they get back, we cannot give you send back to you. So when you are self-custodial, yeah, with your last transaction just came back to you because the system is not operating properly. And yeah, but if you want to use another wallet, go for it. I mean, you have the private key. So this is the entire thing. That's why self-custodial is so important because of that. But of course, like I said, we are always dealing with third party. We are always trying to work as a backup as fast as we can. But that's the market, I think. But at least right now, there is a connection between blockchain and the financial system. And this is just starting. I know for sure in a couple of years with the technology that we are doing, with everything that we are doing now, in a couple of years, definitely that's going to be the last problem, is going to be those kind of things.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sue, for going us through that. So I think we would be taking some community questions soon, but the last question I would like to ask is about the marketing plans that the team has for the project, and what milestones should we be expecting, like in the roadmap in the coming next few weeks to come?
Well, our roadmap here, there is a few big things happening. One, the number one is making the wallets available to the next in line is the US. That is, we are talking. We found a way to operate over that. So it is, yeah, this year we have to connect the US, Argentina, Mexico, Colombia, England, and Europe. So this is the next thing that is in our roadmap here. Also, the Visa card is, we are in the final stage. We are already testing, but we are in the final stage to make available to all the users. And then I hope it still can be done this year. It is to change the way the self-custodial wallet is going to work. So we are working in a way to get the user the same feeling to say, I have a Truther wallet. I have a wallet that for me to use on a daily basis. For me, I don't have to be worried about the 12 words, but it's still some kind of self-custodial because the user will be signing transactions using the email, and we are creating few features that allow the user to access the wallet when they want to. And then the latest, and then I hope that everything works for this year. And then, of course, for the next year, we are working in a way to develop with another business partner to develop a proper blockchain, because none of the blockchains that is in the market today, they can handle privacy, or they cannot handle like millions of transactions. So for next year, we are working in a way to say, to give the user, number one, the control of every single blockchain. So the user is going to be able to have the private key for all the blockchains that Tether is running to. So instead to do this like the swap the way we do it, no, we have everything. So the user going to have one private key to all the blockchains that's supported by Tether. But also we need one blockchain that can support a lot of transactions and can be the main blockchain for Truther wallet. So this is what is in our roadmap. But I would say, for the bottom of my heart, what the number one that I want to do it, but unfortunately we don't have the time, it's not ready yet. It is a proper blockchain that can support the way we think that the market should work. And then just to finalize that, why do we need a blockchain like that? The only blockchain in the market today that has privacy with USDT, it is Liquid. Liquid is the only network that user A can transfer USDT to user B, and they cannot see each other's balance, which for me, that is amazing, because I do not like the idea to say, all right, here's my USDT address, can you transfer USDT to me? So then you transfer, now you'll be able to see my transactions. Because you know my address, now you'll be able to see my balance, you'll be able to see everything. So this is not on the world that we live in today, especially in Latin America or Africa. That is not safe at all. So we need to fix that problem. And then if you need that go to escalate to the financial system, to the banks and everything, I know for sure the regulator is going to be the first one to say, all right, hold on a sec. If the user A transfer money to the user B, they will be able to see each other's transaction. They will be able to see each other's balance. No, that's not going to happen. It's the same thing if you have a bank account today. Imagine you transferring money to someone, and then that person that received the money can check your balance. That is not something that's supposed to be happening, but it is what it is. The blockchain the way it's today was then you have the transparent side. The transparent side say, yeah, we need to be able to see it, but yes and no. So I need to fix that problem. But Liquid has their own issues. It's too expensive to transact. It's not as fast as possible. It's still some problems to be solved. As I know, they have their own roadmap, and the roadmap, it looks like, is not to solve the actual problem to the market, to microtransactions. We want to build a proper blockchain that will fix that, and that we can scale, and that can give also the regulator the clarity to say, okay, if the regulator wants to see the transactions, they'll be able to see the transactions. And then, of course, but the users between each other, they're not going to be able to see it. So we need also to protect the user in that way. So, but like I said, in the bottom of my heart, I wish I could do the blockchain right now. But yes, I have to follow all these things that I just mentioned to let's say probably the blockchain is going to be ready next year sometime. But you guys can expect a lot from us, because we're going to be building really, really nice tools that will allow the user to use cryptocurrency every day, to use a stablecoin every day. And especially if you're a user, say, I want to love to go to Brazil. All right, how do I do payments in Brazil? Yeah, just download our wallet and you're good to go. So this is what we want to do, but we want to do that on different countries as well.
Appreciate the transparent feedback and seeing that the team knows areas that they want to do even more better is something I always appreciate, because the most important thing in every ecosystem is to keep growing and keep figuring out ways to make the whole ecosystem even better. So I can see a lot of questions in my DMs, and I'm sure we would also be having some live questions. But just quickly, some members, some listeners actually texted me telling me that they have tried downloading the app. While some were able to download the app and access the wallet rather, some other users who are using the iOS version are not able to access the app. So is there like some restriction in some certain countries? Because I also asked them to use the VPN, but they said they are still facing the same issues.
Yes, unfortunately, Google allowed us to make it available anywhere in the world, right? Apple does not work like that. So for that, if you go to our website, we did a version. If you go to truther.sv, we did a version we call PWA. So it's an online version. So it's a version that you can use your browser, and because technology that we put over there, if you have a mobile, you can go to that one, and then all you need to do is like you create a shortcut in your home for your mobile, and it will work exactly as an application. So unfortunately, Apple has a lot of let's say rules that we are fighting. We actually fighting with Apple to make available.
Yeah, I can
But
imagine. I
unfortunately,
can
Apple is
imagine.
Apple. So they want to do the things in the way they want. So, and just for the users to know, is like I said, Google is fine, but with Apple, unfortunately, we're not able to operate in some countries. But for that, we create the online version. We can use the online version.
Yeah, like the web version. So
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sure you've heard it from Rocelo himself, because some people were thinking it was from me. So it's definitely not from me, guys. I'm so sorry, but Rocelo has put us through how you can be able to achieve that through the web version, right? So the information will be dropped after the AMA, so you can also follow a step-by-step version. So for the Android users, I think you have to just enjoy your wallet right now. So we can now take some questions from the community. So if you have some questions, kindly raise your hand and signify so you can be unmuted while I try going through the text question to see which questions I'll be asking live. So Jerry, you can go ahead first to your question, please.
Okay, I'm audible. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Thanks again, Moonshine, for thank you very much for unmuting me. Um, nice to meet you, Roselo, if I'm pronouncing this well. Roselo.
Yes, can hear you.
All right. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too,
How's your day
man.
going? Yeah. So basically I've gone through the websites and it's quite fun going through it, and a lot of ideas come to my head, and also about this wallet matter, but I'll take that as Motion already taken the question already, so I won't ask that again. But it's something I saw on the website that intrigued me. I would like to ask it here. I don't know if you had touched it before, but it's something that's personal interest. So the biggest opportunity that Twitter has now seems to be making stablecoin payments work seamlessly with traditional payment system. Now, for me, when a user pay a merchant in USDT and the merchant receive local currency, can you kindly walk us through what happens from the payments to the final settlement, that including local low liquidity or FX conversion, compliance, local payments infrastructure? How are they handled?
Well, 100%. A very good question, by the way, Jerry. Thanks for that. Okay, let's face it, in a way, like you said. I'll give you a few examples because it's happening at the moment already with us, okay? For example, we have merchants from Argentina coming to Brazil. Or, I'm sorry, merchants, people from Argentina coming to Brazil, and from their application, I'll say one example, crypto market. So it's a company, a wallet in Argentina that they have users. They users come to Brazil. They go to like a coffee shop over here. They say, I'll pay by Pix. From their application, they read the Pix QR code, the local one here, and they are sending from USDT. How does it work? They send and also they have a self-custodial wallet over there. All right. So they send it to their wallet, to our hot wallet here in Brazil. Inside the transaction is the whole information related to the payment. So when he actually read the QR code, the Brazilian Pix QR code, when his application is reading that QR code, we do the FX rate straight away, so we know how much the amount of USDT that needs to do. So let's say he's paid 500 reais here in Brazil, so definitely going to need like 100 and something USDT. So his wallet is sending 100 USDT to our hot wallet with the payment information inside the transaction. As soon as we pick it up, because we are listing the blockchain, as soon as we pick it up, we just do the payment, and then through an API, we say payment done. All that happened within 10 seconds. So basically, the user read the QR code, send the USDT to us, we receive the USDT, we did the payment, the POS machine for the merchant already confirmed, received the money, and then the application, the wallet application already received that the payment was done. This is happening at the moment. We have a few clients that is using us, even from Bitfinex. On Bitfinex, you can go to the exchange and then you can face that. You can transfer money to anyone in Brazil. Now, when is sending USDT to us to convert into reais, until now, we do not need a KYC. We don't need that much information. We do check who we are paying. If everything is fine, everything is okay. Then if there is everything fine, we just do the payment. And that takes, again, within 10 seconds, all right? Now, when is it the other way around? And also is happening. A lot of Brazilians are traveling to Argentina, for example. And I even saw that happening in France. I saw that happen in Angola. I saw that happen in a few countries, right? So, let's use the Argentina example. So Brazilians are going to a wine farm in Argentina. The guy in the wine farm in Argentina say, oh, I received Pix. You can pay with Pix from Brazil. And then the Brazilians say, like, can I pay straight from my bank in Brazil? Yes, you can. So the Brazilians do the payment. And then what happened here now, it is, now we do have two different ways. That we need KYC. So if the user is using, if the wine farm in Argentina is using us, you're going to generate a payment link. The Brazilian go to that payment link. We're going to fill out a little bit of information over there. We verify that information. Then we create the Pix QR code. The user do the payment. 10 seconds later, now the merchant in Argentina receive the USDT instant on their wallet. If they're going to change that to pesos, or if they're going to do whatever they want to do with the USDT, it's not in our hands, on his hand. But let's say next time this user just go to the next store and then decide to buy wine again. So the store going to generate the payment link. On the moment that the user put his tax ID number, we already know he did the verification part. So all we need to do is create the Pix QR code again, Brazilian the payment, end of story. Some merchants in Argentina, they will not require the KYC because it's a restaurant. So those kind of things we don't need to verify because they have cameras, they have a lot of things that can protect us against any other problem. So for those cases, the user just read a QR code straight from his bank and payment is done within seconds. And again, the merchant on that side will receive instant USDT. So we have both ways working together at the moment. And then whoever wants more information about us, all we need to do is send a message to us and then we send the documentation for the API, how to connect and everything, the contract and then all that. And then the last part, liquidity. Liquidity for us, it's not a problem as we have a partnership with Tether. So, and then we have partnership with other exchanges here in Brazil. So it's liquidity is not an issue anymore for us. And if you need a lot of USDT, we know what we can get it. And then if you need a lot of reais, the same thing, we know where we can get it. So liquidity for us today, it's not an issue. What the biggest issue that we have at the moment, it's always people say well, but I need to do the KYC. Sorry. The old good days are gone. So today, for us to deal with cryptocurrency, especially in countries such as El Salvador, Europe, US, Argentina, Brazil, if you don't have the proper, let's say, documentation, the proper KYC in place, definitely we're going to face problem with the authorities. And I don't want to have those problems, so that's why we need to do the KYC. Today, I will say, the challenge that we have on this situation, it is the KYC. But like I said, till now, USDT to reais, there is no need of KYC. And anyone can transfer instant. All we need is to ask us, can you guys give your hot wallet? Yes, here we go. This is the hot wallet. So now you can transfer from any wallet, any exchange, anywhere in the world. As long as you put the information inside the transaction, we do the payment here.
Rocelo, I will have to say thank you very much for that detailed clarity. You appreciate the time you take to explain each and every one of the aspects, and thank you very much for answering the question. I would like to go for another one, but I think time is not on our side. But I appreciate the answer. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jerry, for that question, and thank you for being so considerate because of time. So we can at least take in one more questions because we have a lot of questions. But guys, I'm so sorry if I'm not able to get to your question, but you can definitely
follow them on their socials and ask whatever questions you have. And I'm sure the team will be willing to answer your questions. So let's just have one last question here from Jordy. So you can get your question, mate.
All right, thank you very much. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can.
All right, how you doing, Rocelo?
How good, Ben?
All right, so my question is going to be concerning the liquidity, how you guys manage it across multiple currencies. Would your project through the need to maintain a separate liquidity pool for every country it enters, or is there a more efficient global liquidity model?
Yeah, very good one. Because we partnership with Bitfinex, and then remember, we only deal with USDT and Bitcoin and Tether Gold. And for that, we don't have to be worried because, especially in Bitfinex, they support all the blockchains that is available to USDT, especially because there is an agreement. Remember, Tether started from Bitfinex. So the same founders of Bitfinex are the same founders of Tether. But today, it's two different companies, completely separated. But anyways, so this is something that having a partnership and being in the market for so long and have contact with these guys make our life much easier. And as for liquidity, we don't have any issue with that, especially because I'll give an example. Let's say someone send USDT on Tron network. That USDT will arrive straight inside Bitfinex. Inside Bitfinex, then we do the swap, and then we transfer straight to the user. Okay, but what happened when? Okay, great. So for USDT, you don't have no issue to do that. Same thing for Bitcoin. If you need Bitcoin, what we do is like, well, we have USDT inside Bitfinex. We buy the Bitcoin, and then we just transfer straight away. And because we are a market maker, we have a better price. But let's say the liquidity when it comes to, let's say, for example, like when we integrate the wallet to Argentina, now we need liquidity in Argentina, right? So for that, we find the right partners in Argentina. That's why I mentioned in my other answer, like the other questions, like sometimes we have to think about it. Angola, can we deploy, even let's say Angola has a very good payment system. Could we deploy that in Angola? No, we could not, because there is not enough liquidity in the country for us to actually automate the process. But how about Mexico? No, Mexico is not a problem. Mexico has a very good financial system, and they have the liquidity over there because the market allowed us to buy and sell USDT when we want to. So countries that they have very good liquidity, we can operate fantastic, no problem. How about the countries that we do not have the liquidity to operate? Then we're not going to be connected on their financial system. So that's why we decided to do a deal with Visa, because can Angolans still using us? Yes, they can still use our wallet, but can they buy USDT with Kwanzas, which is the currency for Angola? Unfortunately not. How about South Africa? Yeah, South Africa is okay, but the financial system in South Africa is not that good. So that's why we don't go there. But maybe one day South African payment system is going to be good, so then definitely we're going to be there. Same thing for Nigeria. So we need to always think about it, the liquidity in the country. We have a few ideas to solve the problem, but we still need to talk with the regulator. We still need to talk with the banks. And I think the majority over here, we know if you get in the bank and then say, hey guys, let's talk about crypto, they're going to throw us out of the bank. For sure, because the banks is still seeing us as a threat. They should see us as a business partner. Few countries in the world, they are learning that. But 95% of the world, if I get in a bank and say, yeah, I work with crypto and I want to partnership with you in a project here that we have to use the stable coin, they say like, get out. That's it. That's simple. So, but yeah, liquidity depends on countries, but the countries that we're going, we have no issue with the liquidity.
All right. I really appreciate the clarification. Thank you so much for the answer.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Jordan, for the question you asked. So a question came in here from Anderson in the chat. So Anderson is asking, for a payment ecosystem to succeed, both users and merchants need strong incentives to stay active. So, how is Twitter designing its ecosystem so that adoption creates a sustainable network effect rather than relying mainly on temporary rewards or incentives?
Well, I'll tell you what we see in the future. The reason that we are, let's call it our project here, like a Trojan horse, okay? So the idea it is we want to bring the merchant to the party. And as everybody knows, the merchants till today, they always are the weak part on the payment system. And I'll explain why. If there is a fraud on a credit card, who loses the money? The majority of the countries, the merchant. The merchant needs the money straight away on his bank account so he can keep operating his business. Some countries take 15 days or 20 days or 5 days. And then even if the merchant says that, you know what, but I need the money within 2 days. Yes, then the issuer, the payment processor is going to go say, yeah, so then I'm going to charge you 5%. Now the merchant is saying, so then I have to raise the price of my product 5%. So then in order to compensate that. So it's always that. And then of course the user are paying 5% more because of it. So why do I call that as a Trojan horse? The idea is to say, let's get the merchant on this, especially the way what we are building at RezolvePay, which is the payment company that belongs to Resolve. We are trying to build something to say to the merchant, don't worry, you can still accept credit card, but I'll give you instant stablecoin. So the merchant, okay, so but can I use that stablecoin straight away? Yes, you can use the stablecoin straight away. If you want to convert to fiat, it's going to be a percentage, but less than the credit card. But I highly recommend you to actually to hold the stablecoin as we are looking at a way to even say, instead him spending money when he's saying, I want to convert to fiat, now it's a zero fee. So the idea is that to show the merchant to say, if you use a stable coin or if you hold stable coin, then it's going to be zero fee. So now you don't have to pay those high fees to use credit cards, right? So this is one point of view. Then, but it's still, as you can see, the end user is still paying with a credit card or even instant payment system. When it's instant payment system, such as Pix, for example, then we can tell the merchant, here we go, we have the money straight away, done, problem solved. Because we're getting our money from the Brazilian Central Bank, for example. So, and you get a little bit of interest over there. So instead, charging the merchant fees, we take the fees that we're getting from the Brazilian Central Bank, and as an example, right? So this is something that we are also looking into it. And then I explain all that because as we start to build and then connect the traditional financial system is straight, connecting this is straight to the financial system and the blockchain, connecting stablecoin and financial system together. What is happening in the near future is, hold on, if the merchant is already integrated with a stablecoin and the user has a stablecoin, why they don't just send the stablecoin straight to the merchant? So then there is no fees anymore, there is no delays anymore, and everybody's going to be on that one. So our view to the future, and I would say when the next 5 years, we will see payments, and most of people are seeing already, Visa talking about having stablecoin, providing infrastructure, MasterCard doing the same thing. So they saw the view already. They are going to that view because they saw that, okay, in the future, people is going to do payments using stablecoin faster, cheaper, and much more efficient than the actual financial system. So our view, it is in less than 5 years, we will see people doing payment and merchants receiving straight in a stablecoin. And then just to finalize, it's pretty much simple. With the AI, especially like checkouts using AI, we need the stablecoin. We need a very efficient payment system. The actual one, we're not going to work with AI, especially the way it was built was not for AI. AI was missing that. Now that's why we want to build a proper blockchain because we are seeing in the future people are paying with the stable coin, banks is going to be using a stable coin, and merchants is going to be using a stable coin. So it's everything going to a way to be, the future is you become your own bank and the merchant become their own bank. So you bankers will transfer money each other.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question. And the same. So I think these are all the questions we'll be taking for today's AMA because time is fast spent. But I don't know, Rosello, I'd like to give you the floor to give the concluding statements, but I just want to mention that everyone should do well to still do their own personal research, listen to the AMA recording because it will be posted in the GoldDiggers channel. And at the end of the AMA, we will make an official announcement on how to download the app. And you have to use the referral code. You must use the referral code for the reward that would be given. So do well to also follow them on X and every social link that is tagged on the AMA banner announcement, because that is where you will get updates about the project. So before I close down the VC, Rosella, I would like to give you the floor to give the final statements.
Sure. Listen, we are always available to questions. If you guys might have questions, please feel free to go to do it. Yes, please use the referral code. It's very, very important, especially because I know it's going to be some drop of USDT to some users that is here today. And it's a very, very important. If you have questions, please feel free to send it to us. You have a Telegram group. Don't, if you send in Portuguese, we answer. If you send in Spanish, we answer. If you send in English, we answer. So, but it's one thing, I'll leave here a final message is become your own bank. Learn to how to store your keys. And it's important that you also not just have that to yourself. Teach people in your family, teach your friends. The future it's coming really, really, really fast. And when you learn to be your own bank, when you learn to hold your crypto, it's really, really important. And then, of course, I cannot just go without telling every single one. Buy Bitcoin, and every single opportunity that you have, buy Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin. And people, definitely some maximalists, they're not going to like it, what I'm going to say, do not spend your Bitcoin. Do not buy nothing with your Bitcoin. Not at least for the next 5 years. If you think about it, the guy who paid $10,000 for 2 pizzas, and I don't think you want to be the next guy that bought a pizza for that amount of money, right? So then what I'm saying is, if you say like, well, but Bitcoin is too expensive, doesn't matter. If you can buy $50, if you can buy $10, do it little by little. The Bitcoin one day will be $10 million per unit. So it depends on you and how much you're going to have it on that happen. So if you can buy 1 Satoshi, buy 1 Satoshi. If you can buy 10 Satoshis, buy 10 Satoshis. But the most important part, it is buy it, hold it. If you want to hold on Truther, great. If you want to hold that on a paper wallet, great. If you want to hold in a ledger, for example, great. So, but the main point here is become a holder.
Did we lose you or you are still speaking?
No, I'm here.
Okay. So thank you so much, Rosalo. It was really amazing section with you, how you're able to give in-depth explanation about what you guys are building. I think I always appreciate this about teams who are very well knowledgeable about what they're actually building because it makes it easier for investors to trust what you have going on. So and we hope that in the future when Twitter has passed a huge milestone, we'll have you guys back here at GoldDiggers to present with us again. So thank you all so much for also coming out, being patient at the beginning of the AMA, and staying with us throughout the section. See you guys in the next AMA.
Thank you, everyone.